terminate Keith Freeman.
You could feel the anger tonight at a Board of Trustees meeting in Thornton Township. The board and citizens looking for accountability.
The political storm surrounding Dalton's mayor, Tiffany Henyard, has only grown fiercer after shocking new developments emerged. Following her capture for allegedly attempting to bribe a federal agent, Ilan Moy, the scandal has exploded, sending shockwaves through the community. This new twist has not only deepened concerns, but has sparked a whole new wave of speculation. Sources now claim that Henyard, while under intense federal investigation, is reportedly attempting to marry, something that's only making the scrutiny more intense. This bizarre move may very well be the first sign of a much larger issue at play, one that could unravel her already fragile political career. With things still tense and the situation unclear, it's hard to predict where this may end. The pressure is mounting, and Henyard's credibility is quickly being called into question. Will she be able to weather this storm, or is this the tipping point for her troubled tenure as mayor?
Suburban Dalton today. First, the state comptroller has suspended some payments to the village because it has failed to follow the law by providing financial.
For those who haven't been following the drama, the scandal surrounding Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard has taken a dark turn. What started as a series of questionable actions has now evolved into an overwhelming web of corruption, power struggles, and a government teetering on the brink of collapse. Henyard, once seen as a trusted leader of Dalton, Illinois, has found herself under the microscope for a series of dubious acts, ranging from misuse of government credit cards to spending tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars on extravagant events that left many scratching their heads. Financial mismanagement has been a recurring issue since she took office in 2021, with new headlines breaking almost every week, each more damning than the last. The FBI is tightening its grip on Henyard's operations, and the federal probe into her activities has intensified. Insiders close to the situation have hinted that Henyard is becoming desperate. Bribery rumors are making her already dire situation even worse. According to sources, Henyard may have attempted to bribe federal agents who were investigating her. If these rumors prove true, it would signal the beginning of one of the most explosive corruption investigations in the region. The idea that someone would try to buy their way out of a federal inquiry is shocking, especially considering Henyard's already tarnished record. Reports have surfaced revealing her lavish spending habits, including first-class luxury travel and extravagant shopping sprees funded by public money. The most alarming revelation of all is that her administration has left Dalton with a staggering $3.06 million deficit. The once financially stable village is now on the edge of an economic crisis, largely due to Henyard's leadership. This financial instability has been compounded by Henyard's refusal to address the urgent concerns of Dalton's workforce, particularly the town's firefighters, whose union contract has been in limbo for years. Her unwillingness to engage with union representatives has only deepened the rift between the administration and the people it is meant to serve. Even more troubling is the apparent lack of accountability among Henyard's inner circle. Key allies like Lisa Lacy, the former deputy police chief, have reportedly been helping Henyard avoid scrutiny, even after Lacy was fired. Lacy's continued support for Henyard has raised alarms among local leaders, and it has come to light that she may have assisted in concealing some of Henyard's most egregious actions, including financial mismanagement. This has led trustees to seek legal counsel to address the issue, highlighting the collapse of accountability within Dalton's government. The investigation has raised unsettling questions about whether a coordinated corruption ring is at play, with members of Henyard's circle deeply entrenched in the town's leadership. Federal investigators are currently dissecting the corruption, gathering evidence that suggests not only collusion but also efforts to obstruct justice. Henyard's leadership style, which relies on intimidation and retaliation, has only amplified the outrage among Dalton residents. One particularly disturbing case involves Valeria Stubbs, a former trustee who believes Henyard may be responsible for a violent assault on her home. The shooting that left Stubbs' house riddled with bullets has only fueled the growing perception of Henyard's reign as one of fear and retaliation. While there is no hard evidence directly linking Henyard to the attack, her documented history of retaliatory behavior lends credence to the claim. Meanwhile, Henyard's petty and vindictive actions continue to alienate her from the very people she was elected to serve. In one instance, her attempt to mock a former trustee, rather than easing tensions, only served to further inflame public anger. The situation in Dalton is worsening by the day, and each new revelation adds fuel to the fire. Federal agents are said to be gathering crucial evidence, financial records, employment documents, and more, that point to widespread corruption within the Henyard administration. As the investigation into Henyard's administration deepens, shocking revelations about abuse of power, financial mismanagement, and obstruction of justice continue to surface. Kay Freeman, a key ally of Henyard, is reportedly under investigation for bankruptcy fraud. Recent issues with Freeman have only intensified suspicions that Henyard's closest allies have been conspiring to conceal a larger network of illegal activities. Dalton residents are now questioning the very foundation of their local government as the investigation progresses. Once considered a beacon of leadership, Henyard's administration is now a case study in how corruption can destroy a community from within. Previously seen as a shining example of leadership, Mayor Tiffany Henyard's tenure has now become a case study in the abuse and misuse of power. The scandal surrounding her has revealed a history of poor management, retaliation, and misconduct. As federal authorities continue to investigate Henyard's financial dealings and personal relationships, it's becoming clear that the extent of the corruption is far worse than initially suspected. This immoral behavior has left the town of Dalton on the brink of collapse. The public, once trusting Henyard's leadership, is now deeply frustrated. Calls for accountability are growing louder each day, as residents wonder if their government will ever recover from the damage she's caused. Meanwhile, the ongoing FBI investigation only deepens the uncertainty, as it continues to uncover layer after layer of corruption and misconduct. The revelations have confirmed the worst fears of the people. Those in power have systematically betrayed their responsibility for personal gain. For many, the hope for accountability is now intertwined with a profound sense of betrayal. The community struggles to reconcile the ideal of good governance with the grim reality of a corrupted administration. At the heart of this crisis lies Henyard's apparent use of allies like Kay Freeman and Lisa Lacey to avoid scrutiny and maintain control of Dalton's government. Recent charges against these individuals have only reinforced the belief that Henyard's leadership is rooted in deceit, collusion, and financial mismanagement. As federal investigators continue to piece together the full scope of wrongdoing, it's clear that Henyard's administration is at the center of the crisis. An environment has been created where power is prioritized over the well-being of the people she was elected to serve. As a result, Dalton residents are suffering the consequences of failed leadership. Public confidence in local government has been shattered, and many are questioning whether the system itself can be salvaged. For those who have suffered under Henyard's rule, it's unclear whether they will ever see real accountability. One thing is certain: Dalton's future is uncertain. A mere change in leadership is unlikely to be enough to heal the damage done. The residents of Dalton now find their main source of hope in the pursuit of justice. The Tiffany Henyard scandal ultimately reveals a systemic failure to uphold the values of transparency, accountability, and integrity. As the federal investigation continues, the citizens of Dalton are left to pick up the pieces of a government that has continually let them down. And as more information about the extent of Henyard's actions comes to light, it's evident that Dalton's story of corruption is far from over.
Henyard's use of a police security detail taking officers off the street and costing thousands.
Concerns about Mayor Tiffany Henyard of Dalton, Illinois, are only growing as federal investigations continue to tighten their grip on her. Her attempt to avoid accountability has backfired, especially as the FBI monitors her every move. Federal authorities are working tirelessly to prevent Henyard from causing further harm to the village, but insiders warn that there's still much more to come due to her legal battles and political maneuvering. Henyard's camp has been actively vetoing any attempts to investigate her actions, including blocking the hiring of Lori Lightfoot until the financial investigation is completed. Meanwhile, residents of Dalton, who have been calling for Henyard's resignation for months, are becoming increasingly irate as rumors of bribery surface. As the FBI investigation deepens and the legal landscape becomes more complicated, it's hard to see how Henyard can keep her job much longer. The municipal structure simply does not support such leadership under these circumstances. Although Henyard's veto powers have been contested, the final report from Lightfoot's team is likely to reveal even more concerning actions. It's becoming clear that she's surrounded by a network of supporters, including former Deputy Police Chief Lessa Lacey and other enablers who seem unwilling or unable to distance themselves from the alleged corruption. But how long can this arrangement last? The town of Dalton is suffering under Henyard's leadership, and its citizens are on the edge of collapse as they watch their taxes disappear into her lavish lifestyle. The growing concern is what this means for Henyard. While she was already facing significant challenges, the stakes are now higher than ever. If the bribery charges are substantiated, Henyard could face serious legal repercussions. Bribing a federal agent is a severe offense, with sentences that can extend up to 15 years in prison. Federal officials are reportedly questioning witnesses as part of their investigation, which includes looking into possible fraud, corruption, and other offenses. The FBI's focus on bribery is particularly concerning, as it's one of the most serious charges under federal law. Convictions for bribery can lead to long prison sentences, and the investigation has also scrutinized a foundation linked to Henyard's activities. Though unrelated to her personal actions, this only intensifies the investigation, which could lead to even more charges. As the investigation unfolds, Henyard's actions appear to be unraveling. Investigators are piecing together a complex network of criminal activities with Henyard at the center. Legal experts are already predicting that if found guilty, Henyard could face a lengthy prison sentence. The FBI has declined to comment on the nature or status of their inquiries as is standard procedure. However, Henyard faces the prospect of heavy fines and possibly even the loss of her office. In response to the ongoing inquiry, Henyard's public relations staff maintains that neither the mayor nor the municipality of Dalton has received subpoenas or been approached by law enforcement. One of the key incidents that led to the investigation was the Thornton Extravaganza, which began as a joyful, family-friendly event, but quickly devolved into a full-fledged scandal. It became a symbol of Henyard's disregard for public funds when it was discovered that tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars were used for musical performances, an extravagant expenditure that many residents saw as a waste of public resources. This event has become a pivotal example of Henyard's questionable spending practices, which have been central to the ongoing federal scrutiny. As the investigation continues, the pressure on Henyard is mounting. The residents of Dalton, already fed up with her leadership, are demanding answers. As Henyard attempts to stall the proceedings and maintain her hold on power, her efforts are backfiring. Now, with bribery accusations on the table, it's unclear whether she will be able to withstand the mounting pressure or if the walls of accountability will ultimately close in on her.
A one day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon. And the main thing.
Although some Dalton residents have commended Mayor Tiffany Henyard for her work since taking office in 1993, particularly her initiatives for the elderly and those on fixed incomes, the real cost of her leadership has been borne by the blue-collar inhabitants who now live with the consequences of her choices. Henyard's lavish spending, especially on extravagant events and parties, has made many feel as though their hard-earned money is being squandered. Her claim that the $85,000 in party was beneficial to children in the community only fueled outrage, sparking months of calls for her resignation. However, despite the growing demands for her to step down, Henyard's actions show little remorse or willingness to change. In fact, she has doubled down on her claims that she has cleaned up Dalton, despite mounting evidence that her reckless handling of the town's finances has created a serious fiscal crisis. According to a study led by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, Dalton now faces a $36 million deficit since Henyard took office in 2021, largely due to her reckless spending. The investigation also revealed that, in addition to this, Henyard had used taxpayer money to fund extravagant vacations, including first-class flights and opulent accommodations, as well as spending tens of thousands of dollars on personal purchases from Amazon. Henyard also faced criticism for attempting to organize town events without the Board of Trustees' consent. When the board rejected her proposals, she vetoed their attempts to involve Lori Lightfoot in additional research, clearly aiming to prevent scrutiny of her financial transactions. The board overruled her veto, which led to Lightfoot's inquiry, a report that not only exposed Henyard's financial mismanagement, but also uncovered severe issues within the police department. 2 officers, including Henyard's close ally, Deputy Chief of Police Lessa Lacey, were found to have inflated overtime pay that exceeded their base salaries, costing the municipality an extra $200,000, and despite Lacey's denial of any wrongdoing, she, along with other members of Henyard's inner circle, is now under investigation for bankruptcy fraud and obtaining state funds improperly. Meanwhile, Henyard continued to throw lavish parties, spending public money on things the town could not afford. Her refusal to acknowledge the gravity of her financial mismanagement has further angered the community, which feels increasingly deceived. The FBI has been using electronic surveillance to gather evidence of her alleged use of taxpayer funds for out-of-town expenditures, which has only intensified scrutiny of her leadership. Even as investigations continue, Henyard appears determined to maintain her position of power, which only adds to the growing sense of an impending collapse. The situation in Dalton is now being compared to a house of cards, gradually falling apart as the investigation uncovers more troubling details about her financial practices, the lack of accountability, and the complicity of those closest to her. The turmoil surrounding Henyard's reign shows no sign of subsiding, and local residents are left wondering how long her unchecked power can survive before everything collapses.
More and more information. They'll turn up more leads. They may turn up more witnesses. They may find a cooperator. They may find an informant, all which will benefit the investigation tremendously.
But based on what we know now, if you're Tiffany Henyard, how are you feeling?
According to Valeria Stubbs, a former trustee, Mayor Tiffany Henyard may have been involved in a violent attack on her home, which Stubbs believes was retaliation for her outspoken opposition to Henyard's leadership. Stubbs accuses Henyard of being a narcissist who would stop at nothing to maintain her power, underscoring the toxic political environment Henyard has created in Dalton, where standing up for what's right comes with perilous consequences. Henyard is now depicted as someone who could resort to extreme measures to silence her detractors, as the federal investigation into her conduct continues to gain momentum. New witnesses and informants are expected to come forward, offering crucial evidence of Henyard's alleged corruption. Her actions have raised concerns not just about her leadership but also about her foundation, the Tiffany Henyard Foundation, which was initially established to aid cancer patients. Behind the scenes, however, there are growing suspicions that Henyard may have used the foundation as a cover for illicit activities, funneling public or private funds into questionable ventures. The foundation's failure to disclose financial information has only intensified these suspicions. As federal investigators close in on Henyard, it seems that almost everyone in her circle is either distancing themselves or getting caught in their own legal troubles. Despite mounting pressure, Henyard has shown no signs of stepping down. Even as bribery allegations and lawsuits swirl around her, she continues to downplay the severity of the investigations. It's becoming increasingly difficult to tell whether she genuinely believes she's untouchable, living in a bubble where the consequences of her actions won't catch up with her. The situation is deteriorating, and Henyard's administration is on the brink of collapse. While her supporters claim the township has gone from a $2 million deficit to a $6 million surplus under her direction, these assertions are widely disputed, given the ongoing investigations into her financial practices. The real question is not whether Henyard's administration will fail, but whether she will ever take responsibility for her actions. Her refusal to do so has left the town on edge, wondering if she will finally be held accountable or continue to evade justice as she has in the past. As investigations continue, Dalton residents are left to pick up the pieces of a broken government. Henyard's close allies are facing their own legal challenges, and it seems increasingly unlikely that her leadership will withstand the weight of these scandals. At a recent meeting, Henyard's supporters cheered as she bragged about the township's financial success. But the atmosphere was different from previous gatherings. Residents are growing weary, questioning how much longer Henyard can maintain this charade. The coming months will be critical in determining whether Henyard's reign will come to an end, or if she will continue to evade the repercussions of her actions. With multiple investigations underway, the people of Dalton are frustrated and desperate for change. The community is eager for answers, and the truth about Henyard's leadership will eventually be revealed. One thing is certain, her tenure in office is increasingly under scrutiny, and the end may be near. We want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Henyard's reign is finally coming to an end, or will she keep eluding justice? Leave your comments below, and be sure to subscribe for updates on this developing story.